You're listening to the Healthy Christian Women Podcast, brought to you by Fit+Faith, the podcast for Christian women to grow healthier in their mind, body, and spirit. Jumpstart your health with your complimentary mind, body, and spirit detox checklist at healthychristianwomen.com/detox. That's healthychristianwomen.com/detox. Here's your host, Dr. Melody Stevens.
Hello and welcome to the Healthy Christian Women Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Melody Stevens, and I have a super exciting episode for you today. This is something that I've been looking forward to for the past few months, and for those of you who know who our special guest is going to be, you are going to be absolutely thrilled. And for those of you who don't, then hold on to your seats. It's going to be wonderful for me to introduce you to the amazing, the one and only Dr. Josh Axe. Welcome.
Hey, Melody, thanks for having me. Excited to be here today.
Yes, we are so excited to have you here, and we're very excited about your upcoming book, Ancient Remedies, that is going to be coming out on February 2nd. So we'll be diving into that a little bit as well, but we are just so happy to have you here, and I'm excited for you to share a little bit about what you do, about how you help people, and what I think is so amazing is that this episode is coming in inside of a new season that we've started for the Healthy Christian Women Podcast, Season 4. We're specifically talking about natural and non-toxic living, helping people begin to use natural remedies, herbs, taking care of their health in different, more unconventional ways to really be able to use everything that God has already given us in nature and in history to help us heal our bodies. And so the fact that this episode is happening now is just so exciting. So we're so excited to have you here.
Hey, well, again, I'm excited to be here and talk all things ancient remedies. You know, for me, I spent a lot of my career studying ancient forms of medicine, including biblical medicine and how to heal using I really also believe in the importance of prayer and really, believing and knowing that, God is our ultimate healer. He's the great physician. And so anyways, and I always enjoy talking to people like you where we share that faith component. And let's dive in.
I love it. Sounds good. So I've got some questions for you today, but before we get into that, I love the piece of the puzzle that not only are you doing amazing things in the natural health space, but you are also a believer, you're also a Christian, you have a personal relationship with God, and that plays into what I see the success of your business thus far and the way that you approach health. And so I want to dive into that a little bit as well. So could you kind of back up the story a little bit and tell us how you have seen God lead you from the beginning of your career to the huge platform that you have today?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, and some people may know my mom's story, and so I'll keep that fairly brief. But really what got me into natural health was a health crisis in my family. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer at 41. And in our family, we went to church growing up, and we were very involved. I went to a Christian school through 8th grade and developed a relationship with Christ early on. But my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and our family at the time didn't know there was natural ways, knew nothing about nutrition. And we just sort of, went through the conventional medical system. She went and had a mastectomy, went through rounds of chemotherapy. And I remember just praying to God at that time saying, God, would you heal my mom? And I was like in 7th grade at the time. And I was just praying as a family. And thank God, God brought us through that. She was diagnosed as being cancer-free and healthy. But the crazy thing was, though, through all those treatments, my mom actually seemed like she was worse off because she got diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, got put on antidepressant drugs. She was just sick and tired all the time. In fact, my mom was my gym teacher at the Christian school I went to. And later on, anyways, all that being said, my mom was just sick growing up a lot. And so I just remember having those conversations with God and saying, God, hey, I want to help people like my mom get healthy later on. And so really early on, I decided I wanted to be involved in something like nutrition or be a doctor and just help people get well. Well, I went on to do that, started going to school and training in natural medicine and chiropractic and nutrition. And I was about to graduate and open my own clinic. I opened a functional medicine clinic in Nashville, Tennessee, but I got a call from my mom right before I went to open. And she says, just in tears on the phone, I've been diagnosed with cancer again. What do I do? And I said, Mom, I'll be home. I flew from Florida, where I was in school, back to Ohio, where I grew up. And the first thing we did is we sat down, we prayed together. And my mom just even told me, and I felt the same thing, we just felt very led by the Lord to take care of her all naturally. And so again, we started praying for her. And the other thing is, you know, she started going to praise and worship nights at church more often. We started praying for her for healing. She also just worked on her mindset. My mom had a lot of fear and worry in her life. And I think, by the way, I just want to say this, I think there's probably a lot of moms out there and people listening that also just have a heavy burden on them. Again, for my mom, it was fear and worry, and that sort of overwhelmed her. My mom was that person too that was like, she had 3 kids and she worked a full-time job and she tried to take care of the family and she tried to volunteer and be involved in church and all these different things. And she was just exhausted. She had nothing left. And that was sort of where she was at. And so we really started working on just nourishing her, caring for herself. So like my mom rode horses as a kid. And so she started riding horses again at a farm down the road. And anyway, she started relaxing more. And so we followed a healing program with really working on her emotional and spiritual health. And then I also really looked at her diet. We started juicing vegetables, doing bone broth, doing ancient herbals like turmeric and reishi mushroom, essential oils like frankincense and myrrh. We followed this program for 4 months. She went back to her oncologist. We got the results back of her CT scan, and the exact words of the doctor were, "This is highly unusual. We don't typically see this, but the tumors have shrunk by more than half." Went back 9 months later in complete remission. And today, my mom's in her late 60s, best shape of her life. She can run, water ski. She brought my niece and nephew, who are 4 and 5 years old, to Disney World for like 12 hours. And I don't even know if I could do that, but she's doing it in her late 60s. And so anyways, I mean, God is a huge part of our life. Even my business, you know, when I look at, you know, I started in a functional medicine clinic, then founded a website called drax.com, and then now a vitamin and supplement company called Ancient Nutrition. And the Lord has just completely blessed us and blessed our business. And for us, like, you know, because we're just called to be stewards, right? It's essentially his business. And so I'm just trying to be faithful with it. And we're also very just mission driven, myself and my business partner, Jordan Rubin. You know, we do this because I got in the industry because I wanted to see my mom healed. I didn't want to see any other families suffer like this. I wanted to help prevent people getting healthy. And the same thing, Jordan Rubin, God healed him from inflammatory bowel disease, and he had cancer as well, and his body was healed. And again, it was, you know, all glory to God.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And I love that you touched on the piece that there was this mental and emotional side to things. One of the things back in 2015, when God led me to start Fit+Faith, he was showing me that I had to get out of the traditional health world as a physical therapist and not just treat just the physical body, but really look at how the mental and the spiritual aspects of things are playing into somebody's health and their vitality and their well-being and all of these things. And so with the message of Fit+Faith and of this podcast, it's healthy mind, body, and spirit together. And those things cannot be separated. And your mother is the exact example of those things must be addressed and they must be integrated for the fullness of our health. If we are only looking at the physical part, we are absolutely missing the toxicity that can happen inside of our body from our mental state. And so incredible.
Yeah, you know, when I look at ancient forms of medicine, let's start with the Bible, and then I want to talk about ancient Asian medicine. But the Bible, when you look at it, when somebody is sick, you don't, Jesus, nobody's actually talking about nutrition, okay? Nobody's saying what you eat. I mean, it's very much so. I mean, we're looking at the emotions here, and I can tell you this from working with thousands of patients and looking at the research. Your emotional state of health, your emotional, your spiritual state is more important than your diet. Now, listen, your diet is a huge deal. It can really make a big difference, okay? But generally speaking, your emotional health, and here's the truth, and this is known in ancient forms of medicine, but we don't talk about it today. We're living in a world today of Western society where everything is driven by pharmaceutical companies. Really, most of the, a lot of what's behind what's out there today is not a heart of love and mission. It's a heart of mammon. It's a heart of profit. So all that being said, but ancient physicians knew that actually different emotions affect different organ systems. And so a lot of times we think, oh, it was my genetics. Like I got a thyroid issue because my mom had a bad thyroid genes, or I got left-sided breast cancer because my another family member. All that being said, like, why does somebody get breast cancer on their left side and not their right, or their right, not their left? Why does somebody get lung issues or thyroid or what? So actually, according to ancient medicine, it is due to your emotions. I'll give you an example. If somebody has a lot of the emotion of fear, it puts their body in a fight or flight state that drains the adrenal glands. Or if a child gets really scared at night and has fear, they'll actually wet the bed, right? Because fear causes dysfunction of the adrenals and kidneys. Worry. What happens if somebody worries a lot? They'll say, oh, I've got an upset stomach, or I feel like my stomach is tied in knots. We know that worry and overthinking and obsessing causes upper GI issues of your stomach and your pancreas and those areas. Anger causes liver toxicity. Anxiety causes your blood pressure to raise. It affects your cardiovascular system. And grief, which is maybe you lost a loved one or a family member, something happened in the past, a trauma, and you're still living with those wounds today, and you've never taken time to heal those, or unforgiveness, anything in the past, that affects your lungs and colon, which is your immune system, is most greatly affected there. And these are principles, by the way, of Asian medicine. But we know, biblically speaking, Proverbs and Solomon even reference, our bones being dried up, and joy is one of the greatest forms of medicine and healing your body. So anyways, I love talking about this, because one of the things with my mom that we had her quote Bible verses and speak affirmations daily. So we went through, she had about 20 Bible verses. And at the time we used a tape recorder. So this is a little ways ago, but she had a tape recorder, and she recorded herself saying these Bible verses. And then she would say out loud, like, I'm 80 years old and I'm on the beach with my grandkids, and I'm bringing them to Disney World, and I'm with my husband, my dad, and we're, boating and this, like, and she said it, and she would listen to this audio 10 minutes every morning, 10 minutes at night. And I think that was a big part of her healing too, is really affirming her faith, and she's doing well today.
That's amazing. That is absolutely incredible. It just hits so many things home of what we talk about and what we share about and what we encourage our listeners to do here in our community. So I love that. That is absolutely incredible. In your book, people are going to learn a lot of different things that they've never heard of before. I loved looking through it and being like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. I don't know all these things. That's why I'm so glad that you're bringing it all together. So ultimately, you're bringing together ancient Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, biblical history of the way that they've used things. And one of the things that I think should be addressed, because in the Christian community, we just need to be honest, there is still some skepticism, hesitation, confusion, fear around what is happening with all natural CBD products. I don't know. Sure. I don't know why that is still such a conflicting thing. What I experience in the Christian community around that, I think maybe there's some old mindsets from the past, and maybe they don't fully understand the new breakthroughs that have been happening in the CBD world. So, and I know you specifically address that in your new book. So can you speak to some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what happens is, a lot of times we throw the baby out with the bathwater, per that saying goes, and that's what happens here. So when you have a hemp plant, and there's a lot of other names for it, you can call it cannabis, but that plant can be grown in different ways. It can be grown to have a high degree of what's called CBD or a high degree of THC. And it's also important to remember, hemp was outlawed not that long ago. In fact, the Declaration of Independence for this nation was written on hemp. We've manufactured products, ropes, we eat hemp seeds. And so it just depends on the part of the plant you're taking. Some of it is really healthy for you. Some of it actually could have toxic effects. So two main compounds, you have THC and CBD that are found in the hemp plant. Those two are the ones used most medicinally. THC is a compound that has hallucinogenic effects that if somebody takes that, they will get the feeling of being high, right? That we hear people talk about. So anyways, that's not the compound I'm suggesting. Now, I will say from a medical standpoint, I actually think THC is healthier than opioid drugs and actually healthier than a lot of the painkillers that are out there today. When you look at opioid drugs and the addictive nature, and that as well of these serious painkillers, they actually, within a few months, are very hard and destroy your liver and your digestive lining. And so these things are very, very hard on your body. So I think there's a place and a time when if you have a medical physician prescribe in order to get somebody off an opioid drug, a THC type hemp plant, I think there's a time and place for that. But with the actual THC part of the plant, the big thing it does is it drains your adrenal glands long term. This is why if somebody uses a lot of THC, what happens is they will lack motivation. It kills their libido in men. It actually completely depletes sperm count because it drains those adrenals and those reproductive organs. So the side effects of THC are very, very severe, which is why I really never recommend it unless somebody's taking it for a short time for chronic pain that is prescribed by a medical professional. CBD, on the other hand, though, is probably the closest equivalent to a very strong lavender essential oil or chamomile. And so CBD actually comes from the flower. It's part of a flower family like lavender and like chamomile. And it just has a calming effect on the body. And so if you've ever used, again, lavender or chamomile, that's the best example I can think of. Medical studies show there is zero hallucinogenic effects. The big effects are it improves sleep. Several medical studies have shown it might be the most effective herb on the planet for treating insomnia. It's also very highly anti-inflammatory. So a lot of people with chronic joint pain, in fact, I have Jordan Rubin and I both have a lot of friends of ours that are well-known pastors that speak on places like TBN and Daystar and 700 Club. And one of them in particular here in Nashville was having major low back pain and joint pain. We got him, he started taking CBD, and he was literally a few days later saying, Josh and Jordan, I cannot believe how much better my joints feel after taking this. And so all that being said, CBD is most beneficial for sleep, for joint pain, chronic inflammation, and also has some benefits for digestion and hormones. The big thing it does is it gets us out of a sympathetic state. A lot of us live in this fight or flight response. CBD is probably the most effective compound for just calming your body and getting out of a fight or flight state. And again, it's in the family of something like a chamomile and lavender. So anyways, the problem is people think of hemp, they think of THC. This is a completely different compound. And so anyways, CBD has loads and loads of benefits. And again, completely healthy.
So are you recommending topical or taking it internally, or both?
It just depends. It depends. If you've got inflammation and you want it directly affecting the joint, I do think some of the topical rubs are good. But I think generally speaking, internally is more effective. I think you're going to have higher degree of absorption if you take it internally. So I think you can do a dropper, like, a few drops under your tongue. Typically, you're going to take in between 10 and 50 milligrams a day.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that is very helpful and very clear to clear up some of the misconceptions and the fear and worry and concern around using those products that are all natural. There's still a lot of stigma around that. And so that's wonderful. And so ladies, if you're wanting to know more about this, then of course you're going to be wanting to get Dr. Axe's new book, Ancient Remedies, that will be coming out February 2nd. And he dives deeper into all of that. So that's wonderful. Now, for someone who really hasn't begun creating some natural, starting to go a natural way in their health, ultimately, like someone that like this seems very foreign, they're not used to it, they don't understand essential oils, they're just starting to get on track with healthy eating, where do you think someone should start when they're beginning to incorporate a more natural, holistic health way of life?
Yeah, well, number one, I'll just say this. I do think one of the things I've noticed is people that tend to start getting more healthy and start seeing good results tend to be those that, one, educate themselves, like listening to like your podcast. That's a prime example. Reading an article I wrote or my new book, that's a great example. First thing, I would just encourage you, hey, just start educating yourself, reading things. In my book, I really think it's simple. We go through really basic but powerful nutritional concepts, and some of it's advanced, but it's advanced that you can understand and really implement and see breakthroughs with. So again, I would continue to download your podcast and subscribe here. I'd run out and get my new book. You can just search Dr. Axe Ancient Remedies on Amazon. They could ship it to you. It could be there in a couple days. That's a great place to start. Now, generally speaking, though, one of the things I have always recommended is just change breakfast. Think about this. If you just change breakfast, you're changing a third of your diet. That's not like a baby step. That's a big leap forward. And I would start doing something like a real simple recipe is a superfood smoothie or a collagen smoothie. And really you can start with 3 ingredients and you're getting everything you need at breakfast. You can do 1 cup of an almond milk or a coconut milk. There, you're going to be getting lots of healthy fats, okay, that are great for your body and your metabolism. 1 cup of berries, could be blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, or you could do other fruit as well. But I tend to do berries. They're very low glycemic, really high in antioxidants and nutrients. And then I tend to do 1 cup of like a collagen protein or a bone broth protein, typically a vanilla or chocolate flavor, and do that. And boom, that's it. 3 ingredient superfood smoothie. Now, hey, if you want to get fancy and get some more health benefits, you can throw in a handful of spinach in there. You won't even taste it. You could add in some greens powder, add in some cinnamon, which is great for energy and blood sugar. So I think, just changing your breakfast, that goes such a long way with that superfood smoothie. And I've got a bunch of those different recipes in my new book there as well. You could check that out and a few other things here. So one of the things, and this is spiritual, so I want to say this too. I think the things that I do most is I start off every morning doing my spiritual triathlon. Now, I used to be a triathlete years ago. I was on University of Kentucky's triathlon team. And so I anyways, I haven't done one in a little while, but I still do my spiritual triathlon every morning. And I do about 30 minutes. Okay. You could do 15. You could probably do this in 10 minutes, but I do about 30 minutes every morning. I spend 10 minutes in gratitude. I do a prayer walk on a quick 10-minute walk, and I put my hands in the air and I just listen to a praise and worship music and just say, God, I'm so grateful for how blessed I am to have, number one, you as my savior, and just, you're a perfect father. I'm so grateful for my amazing wife. I'm so grateful for my daughter, Arwen, who's 9 months old and crawling. And I just, I'm just so grateful. So I start off every morning doing that for 10 minutes. And then I read my Bible for 10 minutes. And then I tend to pray, and then I'll pray for 10 minutes or sort of meditate on what I read. And so if I read 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, I'll think through, okay, have I been as kind as I can? Like, let me think about, is there a time this week where I could have been more kind to Chelsea or someone else? And then if not, I want to go and repent and apologize, or also think about, hey, how can I be kind to Chelsea or someone at work today? Hey, was someone having a hard day? And so I'll meditate on that and also pray. And I'm just like that for me, because we talked earlier, right? Just about the importance of emotional and spiritual health, starting off your morning every day like that. And then having a good breakfast like that superfood smoothie, like that goes so far for me. And if there's any other tips, I would say this: focus on eating real food. There are, get more vegetables, more fruits, more wild organic meat products. I think those specifically, whole grains, really focus in on there on just eating the real stuff. And that'll go a long way too. So, and I've got meal plans in my book for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if your goal is to balance your metabolism, boost your immunity, balance hormones, whatever it is, I've got different meal plans. Actually, one of the things in the book is I have a personalized quiz in there. And by the way, I'm interested if you took the quiz. You may not have yet, but there's a quiz in there, because here's the thing I believe too. I don't believe there's one diet for everybody. I believe that God all made us in a very unique way, just like he gave some people gifts of teaching, some of serving, some of prayer. Like, I think all of us have different gifts. We're also wired differently. Because has anybody ever had this happen? Your friend did a diet and it worked for them, and you tried to eat the same thing and like it did not work for you. It's because we're all different. So in the book I go through, it's called The 5 Elements of Asian Medicine, but they go through, it's kind of like if anybody's ever taken an Enneagram quiz or a DISC profile or Myers-Briggs, and those are amazing, like how accurate they are. God wired us a certain way. Well, in the book, you can take a quiz to find out which diet is best for you. For some people, there's a diet really great for hormones. For others, really great for the digestive system. And so anyways, but I think again, God made us so uniquely that I think we should be eating different foods. But again, I cover that in the book.
Yes, and I did not take the quiz for myself, but I saw it and I thought, this is amazing. And that was one of the things that I had not heard before, which I love, was those 5 different elements. And I thought, This is fascinating. This is a completely different way to look at your health and to look at what your needs would be based on where you're at and kind of what you're going through. So this book is so amazing. It is full of so many incredible just knowledge, wisdom, practicality, recipes, quizzes, all the wonderful things. I'm so excited. So the full title is Ancient Remedies: Secrets to Healing with Herbs, Essential Oils, CBD, and the Most Powerful Natural Medicine in History. And so It's incredible. I'm so excited about that. So tell us where we can get your book, get our hands on this, and dive into what you have and what you have to offer through your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to mention one other thing, just talking about God and just how amazing he is. He actually made nutrition pretty easy for us in certain circumstances. And I do talk about this in the book, but like basically recognizing what you should eat, you can tell based on the appearance of the food, the flavor of the food, and the color of the food. And that will tell you which organs it's going to help strengthen. I'll give you an example. Like, isn't it amazing that a walnut looks like your brain? If you have a walnut, it looks like a head. You crack it open, there's two hemispheres, like the left and right side of your brain. And walnuts are high in choline, vitamin E, omega-3 fatty acids. They're like literally the ultimate brain food. Coconuts look like a head, and they're full of medium chain, these fats that are good for your brain tissue. And they have a liquid inside that's like your cerebral spinal fluid. So it helps with all your cellular fluids. Beets look like blood. They boost nitric oxide. They've been shown to reverse heart disease. You've got kidney beans and reishi mushrooms that look like your adrenals. They're adrenal tonics. Onions literally look like our cells, and they actually have a compound called quercetin that cleanses our cells. Celery looks like our bones. Look at your forearm, those bones there. It's high in vitamin K, calcium. It's the most alkaline of the vegetables. So it actually keeps your body from losing minerals, which are alkaline, and helps strengthen. So anyways, I get into this in the book too, which is really cool. But I just want to say too, like, that's what an amazing God we have, that he literally said, hey, look at this. I'm making it easy for you, showing you what to do. And like green foods are good for the liver. Red foods good for the heart. Yellow, like chicken bone broth and ginger, those are light yellow, are good for the immune system. So anyways, there's just so many things. I think it's actually pretty easy when you dig in. But again, I think it's some people make it more complicated, but God made it easy for us, which you're going to get into in the book. So you can find me in the new book on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, or run out to your local bookstore. But if you buy it online, they'll ship it to you. It'll be to you in probably, again, a day or two, and just search Dr. Axe Ancient Remedies. And by the way, I want to say too, Dr. Oz rarely writes endorsements for books. He saw the book, loved it, and he wrote an endorsement. So, I mean, he loved it. Sean Johnson E., she's an Olympian, a good friend of ours. She read it and loved it. So anyways, just go on Amazon, read the reviews. I think you'll be excited to see it. And then, hey, buy it for a friend, because there's a lot of people out there that are sick and suffering who need to know how to use food as medicine. And this book teaches you how to do that. The other unique thing is it teaches you how to get to the root cause. You know, a lot of people, the problem today, and I know you know this, is like so often today, people are going to their doctor and getting prescribed a medication, and it's actually causing a side effect. It's depleting nutrients in the body versus treating the root cause, actually healing the way God intended us to. And again, people can find me also on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Josh Axe, and my website, draxe.com. Sorry, I know I said a lot. I'm just so excited for people to learn about how to heal their body and honor God with their body, because it's impacted my family so much. Again, like my mom today is alive because of God leading us into this, into using food as medicine. So anyways, I know I just talked more than I should have, but I'm just obviously very excited about it.
No, you definitely didn't talk more than you should have. It was wonderful. And I was thinking the whole time, you can hear and see your passion for this. And that's what I think is so beautiful. It's truly a heart passion coming out, and this desire to help people, and to desire for people to want to help themselves, and giving them the tools in order to do it. And it's beautiful. And I think it's just perfect, because God created our bodies and he created nature. He understands that they were meant to go together and how they were meant to go together. And so everything that you've touched on, it's just reiterating that. And it's beautiful. I mean, God knows we are the ones over time that have deviated from that, and that have gone to the lab, and that have chosen money over true health. Yeah. And so our system is broken. And so we're just desiring to return back to nature the way that God intended it to be. And he has everything that we need in nature. We just need to go out and start educating ourselves, and have a desire to look for that, and then actually take the course of action to go away from the current standard American diet, the SAD diet, and actually turn towards health and vitality and vibrancy that is grown from the earth, that God knew about and created. And so it's a beautiful pairing. It's how it was supposed to be. So thank you so much. I cannot wait for our listeners to get their hands on your new book. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We're absolutely thrilled to introduce you to the Healthy Christian Women community. And thank you so much, Dr. Axe.
Hey, Melody, thanks for having me again. And, I was on your webpage. I'm just such a fan of what you're doing. I see you got a detox program. That looks great. And again, just was an honor to be on with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe and join me next week for the next episode of the Healthy Christian Women podcast. Inspiring Christian women to live healthier in their mind, body, and spirit, one day at a time. Grab your complimentary mind, body, and spirit detox checklist at healthychristianwomen.com/detox. That's healthychristianwomen.com/detox.